Okay, welcome back. So with respect to last class, we have got into this module 4. Okay, so whereas now we'll get across in this same module 4, we'll be coming across with testing strategies there. So whenever I am speaking about the strategy which is applied for testing, there are two types of strategies which are applied. Okay, so one is called out as partition testing and one more is called out as guideline based testing. So whenever I am speaking about partition testing, so you identify groups of different types of inputs that have common characteristics and you group them into a single group there. Okay, and it should be processed in the same way. Okay, you should choose a test from within each of these respective groups. So that is called out as a partition testing. So that's one way. The second way is guideline based testing, where you use testing guidelines. There are some guidelines to choose the test cases whatever you design. Okay, so these guidelines reflect the previous experience of the kinds of errors that the programmers must have experienced, or else it can be while developing the respective components, what all kind of errors they have got across and what type of a test case they had used for that they have got it. So these are all used for your guideline based testing. Okay, so whereas let us come across with partition testing, so wherein we say that the input data and the output results, they often fall into different classes there, where all the members of a class are related to one another. Okay, each of these class is an equivalence partition. Keep that in mind. Like for example, if I take it like x and y are my variables which I am looking across. Okay, and I say that x and y lie within a range of 10 to 20. So at that time there are three kinds of classes partitions which I can make. One is less or else boundary valued 10, and one more is between 10 to 20, and one more is just appropriately the boundary value is to 20. Okay, so this is how the partitions are made. Okay, so test cases should be chosen from each of these respective partitions. If it works for one of the test case amongst that particular pattern, so it will be working for all. So that is how the partition testing works. Okay, then in this partition testing itself I have equivalence partitions. Okay, as I said to you, so this is my one partition, this is my second partition, this is my third partition, this is my fourth partition. One amongst this I'll take it as an input, one amongst this I'll take it as an input, one amongst this, one amongst this. These are my possible inputs, and in those possible inputs I'm partitioning it. I give it as an input to the system. Okay, and for this respective system I'm expecting across with the output. So outputs also I categorize into two ways. One is right answers which I am getting across for right inputs, and one more is wrong answers which I am getting for wrong inputs. Okay, so these both of them are being considered as your possible outputs. Okay, now like for example, as I said, the equivalence partition is nothing but less than 4, between 4 to 10, more than 10. If I want to choose the data amongst that, I'll take it as 3. Here 4 lies 7. I take two test cases amongst them, data, one amongst this and two amongst them. Okay, so this is how I will be taking across with the input values. Okay, this is my partitioning which I am looking at. Okay, so then comes is your guideline based setting. Okay, so whenever I say guideline based, so there are certain testing guidelines there. So what are those? Test the software with sequences which have only a single value there. Okay, use the sequences of different sizes in different tests. Okay, then comes the third one is derive the test so that the first, middle and last element of the sequence are assessed. Okay, test with sequences of zero length. So that should also be considered whenever I am taking across with the sequences of zero length. Okay, so usually the generic testing guidelines whenever you are looking across. So for the very first one is choose the inputs that force the system to generate all the error messages. That's the very first testing guideline. Second one is design the inputs that cause input buffers to overflow. Then comes the third one is repeat the same input or series of inputs numerous number of times, so that whenever I repeat the things a number of times, so I'll be expecting a different type of outputs across for that. Then comes force invalid outputs to be generated. So whenever I have across, so I'll be having the invalid outputs which are to be generated there. Then force computation results to be too large or too small there. Okay, so these are your certain testing guidelines which are used across for your guideline based testing. Okay, so next comes across is your component testing. As I said, your individual software components are often composite components and they have been tested. Okay, for example, if I am taking across with a weather station system, so reconfiguration includes objects that deal with each aspect of the reconfiguration there. You assess the functionality of these individual objects, whether they are working properly or no. Okay, the component interfaces which are working across. Okay, testing composite components should therefore focus on showing that the component interface behaves according to its respective specification. Okay, we can assume that unit tests on individual objects with the component have been completed. Okay, so this is with your component testing. Then I have interface testing. So whenever I'm saying across with interface, so this is what looks across for us for any respective application. So objectives are to defect faults due to interface errors or invalid assumptions about interfaces. Okay, interface types. So for interface types, you have parameter interface, shared memory interfaces, procedural interfaces, then one more is message passing interfaces. So whenever I have data is passed from one method or procedure to another, so I call it as a parameter interface. Shared memory interfaces says that block of memory is shared between procedures and functions there. Then procedural interfaces says that subsystem encapsulates a set of procedures to be called by other subsystems there. Okay, so I call it across as procedural interfaces. Then message passing interfaces, which say subsystems request service from other subsystems there. Okay, so I call them all under this categorization called as interface testing. Okay, so for this interface testing, I have test cases with me. Okay, these are my variables which I am looking across. These are the test cases which are included for this respective system to happen there. Okay, so this is with your component testing, then interface testing there. Then let us come across with what do you mean by test driven development. Okay, as we have plan driven development. Okay, then we have agile method. So similarly, I have test driven development. So test driven development says that you are testing it first and then you are using across for the development. Okay, is an approach to the program development in which you interleave testing and code development. Tests are written before the code, and passing the test is a critical driver of the respective development. Okay, you develop the code incrementally along with the test for that particular increment. You don't move on to the next increment until the code which you have developed has been passed this particular test. Okay, in other words, TDD is being even called out as extreme programming also. Okay, so extreme programming says across as the things are being tested first and then it works across for a development. So here you can just see how does the test driven development works. You are identifying a new functionality, you write the test for that. Okay, you run that test. Okay, if it is a fail, you implement the functionality and refactor it, then again run the test and go on. Okay, if you have passed it, you identify the next new functionality. So this is how your test driven development works. So where you are writing the test for it, you are running it, then you are implementing the functionality if at all it's a failure. Okay, so the same happens to be written here. It's a self-descriptory module, slide which you can go across, which defines this particular TDD process there. Okay, which says with identifying of new functionalities. Okay, then you are writing a test for it, you are running it, then you implement the functionality of it. Okay, and rerun the tests. Once all the tests are run successfully, then you move on to implement the next chunk of functionality. Okay, what are the benefits of your TDD? So the benefits of test driven development is you have a full code coverage. Okay, then regression testing is possible, simplified debugging, system documentation. Code coverage says that every code segment that you write has at least one associated test, so all the code written has at least one test there. Okay, regression testing says that a regression test suite is developed incrementally as a program is developed there. Okay, simplified debugging, it says when a test fails, it should be obvious where the program lies. The newly written code needs to be checked and modified. Simplified debugging. Okay, so then it says system documentation, where it says that it will help you in the formation of the documentation for the things whatever you are looking across. Okay, what the code should be doing there. Okay, next let us come across with release testing. Okay, so release testing says that before you are releasing the product into the market, so these are the things which are being taken across. So release testing says that it's a process of testing, as I said you, it's a particular release of a system that is intended for use outside of the development team there. Okay, the primary goal of this release testing process is to convince that the supplier of that particular system is good enough for the use there. Okay, release testing says that it shows that the system delivers its specified functionality, performance, dependability, okay, and it does not fail during normal use there. Okay, release testing is usually a kind of a black box testing where tests are only derived from the system specifications there. Okay, and based on the system specifications whether the things are being formed properly or not. So that has been taken across. Okay, then comes across is the user testing. So whenever it comes across with the user testing, always keep in mind there are the things which goes across under user testing is alpha testing and one more is beta testing. So it is like everything works properly at the developer side, at the developer end, but when the same things are being addressed in the customer environment, okay, so at that time you might face some kind of errors, okay, or else it might not work in the same way how it was designed. So these are all being tested in this categorization called as user testing. Okay, so this is one of the major things which influences the users working environment there. Okay, so here we are having three different types of testing under this user testing. One is alpha, the second one is beta, and the third one is acceptance. Okay, alpha testing says that the employers, whoever are the employers here, so those respective employers are being given across with the product and they are asked to give their overview on that particular product. So that is alpha testing. The second is beta testing, wherein you are choosing some identified users. Okay, so and you deliver your respective system to only them. So you must have come across sometimes you will be having beta version of Gmail, beta version of Facebook. So these are all nothing but it is left out for testing. Only some of the identified users will be given across with that particular approach. Okay, others will not be given. Then the third one is acceptance testing, where customers test a respective system to decide whether or not it is ready to be accepted from the system developers and deployed in the customer environment. Okay, where it has been accepted primarily for the custom systems there. Okay, so your acceptance testing includes these categorization, these steps there. You define an acceptance criteria, you plan the acceptance testing, you derive that acceptance test, you run these acceptance tests, then negotiate the test results, accept or reject the respective testing. Okay, when you define the acceptance criteria, you are looking across with the requirement specification. Based on that, you see whether it has been acceptable or not. Okay, you are looking across with some test criteria there. Okay, this acts as an input for your plan acceptance testing. Okay, when you plan out for that, you have the test plan with you. Okay, when you have a test plan, you derive acceptance tests there. Okay, when you derive the acceptance tests, you have different types of tests which have been included. You run those acceptance tests, you test the results, you negotiate those test results, you have a report with you. Okay, and that report tells you ultimately that is whether you are going to accept the system or reject the system. Okay, so this is with respect to your user testing, release testing, then acceptance testing. Okay, so in the next class I will tell you regarding this one more section of module 4, and that is software evolution. Okay, thank you.